the garbage collector who became mayor. In a small, bustling town nestled between rolling hills and meandering rivers, life moved at a pace both gentle and persistent, like the steady rhythm of the seasons. The streets buzzed each morning with the footsteps of shopkeepers unlocking doors, children racing on their way to school, and the distant hum of delivery trucks. Yet, among all these familiar sights and sounds, there was one figure so constant, so unassuming, that most citizens hardly noticed him at all: a man named Samuel, the town's garbage collector. Samuel had worked the same job for over 20 years. Every morning, before the sun had stretched its golden fingers over the rooftops, Samuel would set out in his battered, green truck. With a practiced efficiency, he would stop at every curb, emptying bins, collecting bags, and tidying up the debris left behind by the ebb and flow of daily life. His hands bore the calluses of hard labor, and the lines on his face spoke of years of early mornings and uncomplaining effort. Yet, beneath the grime and sweat, there was a light in Samuel's eyes, a warmth and kindness that seemed immune to the weariness of his body. He greeted everyone he met with a tip of his hat or a cheerful wave, and he knew the townspeople not just by their addresses, but by their lives. He'd pause to pick up a stray soccer ball for the neighborhood kids, or to help Mrs. Henderson with her heavy groceries, or to quietly fix the loose latch on someone's gate. He listened to stories, offered words of comfort, and sometimes, when he thought no one was watching, he'd stop to admire the sunrise over the old stone bridge. Despite his gentle nature, Samuel was not a man of means. He lived in a modest house on the edge of town, with peeling paint and a garden overrun by wildflowers. But what he lacked in wealth, he made up for in heart. He believed, with a quiet conviction, that every little act of kindness could ripple outward, touching lives in ways unseen. One autumn, as the leaves turned gold and crimson, a storm swept through the town. The river swelled, spilling over its banks, and the main street was flooded. Trees were toppled, homes were damaged, and the town square, a cherished gathering place, was left in shambles. The next morning, as the townspeople emerged to survey the damage, they found Samuel already at work. He was wading through knee-deep water, clearing fallen branches and debris, guiding the elderly to safety, and checking on those whose homes had been hardest hit. He worked tirelessly, pausing only to rest or to offer an encouraging word. Others, inspired by his determination, soon joined him. Young and old, neighbors and strangers alike, came together to rebuild what had been lost. Word of Samuel's efforts spread quickly. For the first time, people began to see him not just as the garbage collector, but as the very heart of their community. They remembered the countless small ways he had touched their lives: the time he'd lend his umbrella to a stranger caught in the rain, the way he'd always stopped to chat with lonely widowers, the hours he'd spent helping at the soup kitchen after his shift. As the town slowly healed, a new idea began to take root. With municipal elections looming, someone suggested that Samuel should run for mayor. At first, the notion seemed almost laughable. Samuel himself laughed it off, shaking his head and insisting he had no business in politics. But the townspeople persisted. They saw in him a leader who cared not for power or prestige, but for the well-being of every single resident. Reluctantly, Samuel agreed to run. His campaign was simple: no grand promises, no flashy advertisements. Instead, he walked the streets as he always had, listening to concerns, offering practical solutions, and reminding everyone that a town is only as strong as the bonds that unite its people. The election day arrived, and with it, a sense of quiet anticipation. When the votes were counted, Samuel was declared the winner by a landslide. The news spread through the town like a ray of sunlight breaking through clouds. The garbage collector was now the mayor. As mayor, Samuel brought the same humility and compassion to his new role that he had shown every day on his rounds. He championed projects to improve local schools, repaired aging infrastructure, and created programs to support the town's most vulnerable citizens. He listened, truly listened, to the hopes and fears of his community, and he inspired others to do the same. But Samuel never forgot where he came from. Even as mayor, he was often seen picking up litter in the park or planting flowers along the roadside. He understood that real leadership was not about standing above others, but about standing beside them. Over time, the town flourished. Crime rates dropped, businesses thrived, and a new spirit of cooperation blossomed. People looked out for one another, just as Samuel had always looked out for them. His story became a legend, not just for what he achieved, but for the way he achieved it, with kindness, humility, and an unwavering belief in the power of small, everyday acts. Years later, as Samuel grew older, he was asked to speak at the town's anniversary celebration. Standing before a crowd of friends and neighbors, he smiled and spoke from the heart. "I never set out to be a leader," he said. "I just tried to do what was right, one day at a time." We all have the power to make a difference, not by doing grand things, but by doing small things with great love. The world is changed not by those who seek glory, but by those who serve quietly, faithfully, and with kindness. His words lingered in the air, a gentle reminder that true greatness is found not in titles or accolades, but in the simple, selfless acts of those who care for others. The town, once divided by indifference, had been transformed by the unwavering spirit of one humble man. And so, the garbage collector who became mayor left behind a legacy more enduring than any monument, a community built on compassion, unity, and the profound truth that we all have the capacity to lead, if only we have the courage to care. From that day forward, children would point to Samuel's house and whisper stories of the man who swept the streets and swept away despair, who lifted spirits as easily as he lifted trash bags, and who taught an entire town that no one is too ordinary to do something extraordinary. For in every heart, there lies the spark of change, and all it takes is one person, willing to serve, to light the way. As the years went by, Samuel's example continued to inspire. New generations of townspeople grew up hearing his story, learning that greatness is not reserved for the rich or powerful, but for anyone willing to serve with humility and love. The town's motto changed, too. Painted in bold letters above the entrance to the town hall, it read, "Greatness begins with kindness." Samuel's journey was not without its challenges. There were days when he faced criticism or doubt, when the weight of responsibility felt heavy on his shoulders. Sometimes, progress was slow, and setbacks tested his resolve. But through it all, he remained steadfast, guided by the belief that every person mattered, and that every act of kindness, no matter how small, could make a difference. He often recalled a lesson from his childhood, shared by his mother as she tended their modest garden. "Every seed you plant," she would say, "may seem small, but with patience and care, it will grow into something beautiful." The same is true of kindness. Samuel carried these words with him, nurturing the seeds of compassion wherever he went. One winter, a severe snowstorm blanketed the town, cutting off roads and leaving many stranded in their homes. Samuel organized volunteers to shovel driveways, deliver groceries, and check on the elderly. He personally visited each neighborhood, ensuring that no one was forgotten. The town rallied together, forming bonds that would last long after the snow had melted. In the spring, when floodwaters threatened the outskirts, Samuel coordinated sandbagging efforts and opened the town hall as a shelter. He comforted those who lost their homes, helping them rebuild not just their houses, but their sense of hope. Each crisis became an opportunity for the community to come together, to rediscover the strength that lay in unity. Samuel's leadership extended beyond emergencies. He initiated programs to support local artists, celebrate cultural diversity, and promote environmental stewardship. He encouraged young people to take part in civic life, mentoring them and listening to their ideas. Under his guidance, the town became a place where everyone felt valued, where differences were celebrated, and where dreams could take root. One of Samuel's proudest achievements was the creation of the community garden, a once abandoned lot transformed into a lush oasis of flowers, vegetables, and laughter. Families gathered to plant, weed, and harvest together, sharing stories and recipes, forging friendships across generations. The garden became a symbol of what was possible when people worked side by side, nurturing not just plants, but each other. Through it all, Samuel remained humble. He often credited others for the town's successes, insisting that he was only one part of a much larger whole. He saw leadership not as a position, but as a responsibility, to listen, to serve, and to uplift those around him. As the years passed and Samuel grew older, he began to think about the future. He encouraged new leaders to step forward, to carry on the work he had begun. He mentored young people, sharing the lessons he had learned, that true leadership is grounded in empathy, that every job has dignity, and that real change starts with simple acts of kindness. When Samuel finally retired, the town held a celebration in his honor. People from every corner gathered to express their gratitude, sharing stories of how he had touched their lives. There were tears and laughter, music and dancing, and a deep sense of community that was itself a testament to Samuel's legacy. In his final speech as mayor, Samuel stood before the crowd, his voice steady and warm. "I am grateful for the chance to serve you," he said. "This town is not great because of any one person, but because of all of us, working together, caring for one another. Remember that you are never too small to make a difference. The world needs more kindness, more compassion, and more people willing to lend a helping hand. Let's continue to build a community where everyone belongs, where every voice is heard, and where every heart is valued." As the sun set over the hills, casting a golden glow over the town, the people knew that Samuel's legacy would endure. His story would be told and retold, a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. And so, the garbage collector who became mayor left behind more than just a cleaner town. He left a community transformed by love, united by purpose, and forever changed by the simple truth that greatness begins with kindness. In the years that followed, Samuel's influence could be seen in the smallest details: neighbors helping neighbors, children planting flowers in the park, volunteers organizing food drives, and strangers greeting each other with a smile. His portrait hung in the town hall, not as a symbol of power, but as a reminder of the power of service. Visitors often asked about the town's secret, marveling at the sense of unity and warmth that seemed to permeate every street and square. The townspeople would smile and tell the story of Samuel, the man who taught them that leadership is not about titles, but about actions, not about standing above, but beside, not about seeking recognition, but about giving of oneself for the good of others. And somewhere, perhaps in a quiet corner of the community garden, an old man would sit, watching the world go by, content in the knowledge that he had made a difference, not through grand gestures or lofty words, but through a lifetime of simple, selfless acts. For in the end, the greatest legacy is not the positions we hold or the accolades we receive, but the lives we touch and the love we leave behind. Samuel's story became more than just a tale of personal triumph. It became a blueprint for a better world. It reminded everyone that dignity is not measured by wealth or status, but by the way we treat each other. It showed that every job, no matter how humble, is an opportunity to serve, to uplift, and to inspire. And so, in that small town by the river, the spirit of the garbage collector who became mayor lived on, in every act of kindness, every gesture of compassion, and every heart touched by his example. The world may not remember all the names of its leaders, but it will always remember those who led with love. Thus, the story of Samuel, the garbage collector who became mayor, remains a testament to the enduring power of kindness, the transformative strength of community, and the profound truth that anyone, no matter their background or circumstance, can change the world, one small act at a time.